Welcome back to another episode of NaytonTech. Today we're going to be doing a review of the Google Pixelbook. I went ahead and picked up the 128 gig i5 model, and we're going to do just a quick review, an overview of features, some of the specs, things like that on it, and also some of my personal opinions. So first off, if you can see here, this is the top. It does have glass here on the top. This is for the antennas and whatnot, since it is a full aluminum frame on it. They put the glass up here partially for looks, partially for antenna, so your Wi-Fi. There is not a cellular version of this. Okay, so now they've got this arranged a little bit. Okay, so on your keyboard, you've got this key here, which brings up, let's see if I can get this a little bit better. So this just kind of brings up, this is like your settings menu. You can power down, you can go into your settings. It shows you what your Wi-Fi is, your Bluetooth's enabled, all that kind of stuff, who's signed in, battery, whatnot. This button, you don't have a caps lock anymore. I haven't missed it one bit. I don't type in caps all the time either, so, you know, no shouting on the internet with Pixelbook. This brings up kind of it's like your start menu compared to Windows. I don't have too many apps installed on this, but there's your different apps. Okay. Normal rescue keys. This is the Google Assistant. What's the weather like today? What's the weather like today? So it'll bring up you can also just say, okay, Google, and it'll work as well that way. The rest of the keyboard's very nice, pretty standard for the rest of it. These pads on the bottom for your wrist rest are actually very soft. They're not like soft to push in, but they just have a very soft feel when you rub your hands across or not. So when and they kind of hold your hands in place. Just a nice soft rubber. It's the same thing that all of your rubber stops are all on the front and the back, and I'll show you the back here in a minute. They're all made out of the same thing. The touchpad on this, you actually have to kind of feel it to see what it's like, but it's actually made of glass, so it's kind of the same thing that the screen on here is, as well as on your phone, but it's super smooth. I've used plenty of laptops over the last 15 years or more, and by far I would say this is my favorite touchpad I've ever used. It's just so smooth. It doesn't feel like you've got that painty feel, like you're rubbing it on paint. Almost, it's just super smooth. There's no resistance at all. No texture. It's super smooth. One of the things I looked for in a lot of the other reviews is, where are the speakers on this? It took me a little bit to kind of figure out where they were. They're actually under here, and the grills, or where the sound comes out, are actually right in this crack right here in front of these feet. So when you flip it over, it sits on these feet and the rubber pads. The sound actually comes out right there. It's not too bassy, but it is clear. I mean, you can crank this thing almost all the way up and still not notice any distortion, which is great. So the speakers are nice. For as thin as this is, you can't really ask for a big bassy sound or anything like that, but they are clear. You can hear them. Let's see, let's look at the rest of it. So on this side, and you can see how thin this is. All we have is a USB Type-C. There is an LED on this side, so when you plug it in, like right now it's green, if it'll actually focus in there or not. Either when it's on or when it's charging. On the front, you do have a little divot right here, so you can get your finger in there to, see if I can get that in the camera. Left side, you have power button, volume up and down, which actually I rarely use this because they're on the keyboard, but I guess they have these here if you have it flipped around and you can't get to the keyboard's turned off. Headphone jack, which I've used it once listening to some music here in the garage, and another USB-C. On the bottom, another pad, pretty much the same rubber that the pad, your wrist rests are made out of, as well as another one here. This whole thing is actually the same, but then it has a ridge right here that it sits on. 360 degree hinges, so you can flip it all the way around. When you do this, nothing back here works. You just have the tablet, and it's actually, I mean, for the size it is, it's actually pretty light. You know, it's 2 pounds. I find myself reading on this fairly often. I just got the new Dan Brown Origins book, and I've been kind of burning through it for a while. So it's actually nice just to sit in bed and have this, and you can get 2 full pages on there. I like it a lot. So the screen on this, it does have a glare, so you can see here it has a pretty shiny screen to it. So if you do have lights and stuff around, you will get some glare on. You just have to adjust it to use it. Other than that, that's about the hardware specs of it. This does have an i5 in it. It is a dual core, but it does have hyper threading, which a lot of i5s don't. So it does have 4 threads on there. 8 gigs of RAM, 128 gig storage. It does support, one of the things I was reading about, it does support 3 monitors total. So you can actually run outputs on these USB-C ports to additional monitors and use those if you need to. Supports a lot of stuff through the USB-C. If you haven't looked it up yet, it does have, you can run network through there. You can run 4K, HDMI out. You can run a USB, normal USB port, so like a hub. Pretty much anything you'd run off of a normal USB plus video, audio network all through one, and charge at the same time. The screen on this has a crazy resolution. I'm actually not even in this picture. If you can see here, let's see. I'm not even running full resolution. This is actually, I'm trying to remember what I actually have it set at. But this has a 2400 by 1600 resolution screen, and I can't run it that high. It actually makes everything too small to use as far as icons and stuff like that down here. They actually get even smaller. So I'm running it one step below that, and it's still, it's amazing because I can get in, I can work on it. I've done way more work on this than I anticipated when I first purchased it. I find myself sitting downstairs watching TV with the family and on here doing things that I need to do. A lot more just sitting and typing at random places, just because of how functional this is. So how light it is, how small it is, but it's got the great resolution. Most 12-inch laptops that I've used over the last couple of years have such crappy resolution that I just don't want to work on them. Where this, it's just so much more comfortable to work off of. I feel like I've actually got some real estate on the screen. Even though it's a 12.3-inch screen, I've got some real estate on it to use. Let's see, the price on this thing is a little expensive. It starts at $999. So it's not something that everybody's going to go out and purchase. I'm kind of glad that I did. I love it. It's my go-to device. Even at work, I find myself using it a little more than grabbing my laptop at work, because I can Citrix in and do all the stuff that I need. Let's see, what else do I want to cover? So this, I don't have any games for this yet. Most of my gaming, I played like AAA games. I built a gaming machine for that. So this I purchased it for this specific reason of not playing games on it, mainly for traveling, you know, being able to plug it in and watching movies at a motel, things like that. So I didn't purchase it for gaming. I didn't need, you know, a big graphics card or anything like that to purchase. So I looked at what I needed for myself as functionality, and that's kind of the stuff I purchased. I didn't want a big bulky laptop. This is almost still half as thick as some of our thinnest laptops that we have at work. At, I think, just a hair over 1 centimeter, 10.3 millimeters is what this is listed at. A couple of the cons we'll talk, and this is normal for a lot of your Chromebooks. There's not a lot of software support yet. It is growing, and I think part of the reason why Google made this large laptop, or this powerful laptop, I guess is to kind of push that envelope and get developers to start writing, you know, full screen apps. This does support all of the Android apps, but not all of them work perfectly because they're designed for a phone size screen or format. So Google's kind of pushing the envelope to allow developers to write and make their apps work in a full screen desktop or laptop environment. And I knew this when I was purchasing it. I've had a couple Chromebooks before, not quite this powerful. I liked how they worked. They did about 90% of the stuff that I needed to do on a day-to-day basis. So going into this, I knew that, but I wanted something faster. They were, you know, a couple years old, didn't have the best processor, amount of RAM. I couldn't run as many things. I haven't noticed these things slow down even with 5, 6, 7, 8 apps, you know, running at one time. So that's the reason why I want something a little bit more powerful. I like the i5 processor. 8 gigs of RAM allows me to do more things at once and not having to close out and open stuff. The bezels on this are a little bit bigger than what you would expect for, especially, you know, this high end of a laptop. But when I'm using it in tablet mode, I do notice that, you know, I like having my thumbs on the edges here. And that way I'm not touching the screen. I can hold it a little more comfortable and not have to worry about, oh, am I touching the screen and changing the page on something I'm working on or whatever without needing or wanting to. So the bezels don't bother me too much. It allows me to swap it around and not really mess around with whatever's on the screen. Not a deal breaker for me. Let's see. The other thing I've noticed when picking it up, I'll close it. And since this thing's so thin, it does have a little bit of flex, not much. I mean, it's, you know, that's about all the flex I'm getting out of it without putting a lot of strain. That's the most you're going to notice, is that right there. I noticed that when I grab it here at the top, I will actually, you know, I can hear the mouse or the touchpad click. It puts just enough pressure where it touches there. Probably not going to hurt anything, but just something I've noticed. We've talked about the screen already and the price. So we'll get into a little bit of the pro stuff, and there's quite a big list, at least in my opinion, of things that I love about this. One, the weight, the size, the thickness, and how sturdy it is. I mean, I can pick this up and it's very sturdy. I don't feel a lot of, you know, flexing in the keyboard, anything like that when I pick it up by the corner, and I don't notice any flexing. The keyboard is really nice. They don't push down, you know, the keys are very shallow. Don't have to push down on them a lot to work. You know, half an hour after the use, I'm typing away as fast as I do on my normal other keyboards I've been using for a year. So really impressed with the keyboard. I do like the backlighting. It's just a nice, plain, soft white. Nothing overbearing. Let's see. And they still even give you a little bit of feedback on those keys, so you can tell when you hit the bottom, when you've hit them, whatnot. Not super loud. So I think they really did a good job on the keyboard itself. The hinges are nice. I was worried they were going to be, you know, too hard to open and close. I still do notice, you know, it coming up a little bit when I open it. The front of this here wants to lift up a little bit. That might go down a little bit, you know, kind of after like a break-in period or whatnot. But the hinges are actually really nice. They're real smooth. You don't hear any grinding or feel any tension, like tighter or looser spots, anything like that. So very nice there. The screen brightness, the screen actually gets fairly bright. I run at 50-60% brightness most of the time, and don't have any problem seeing it in bright areas. I haven't really taken it much out in the bright sunlight because of the time of year, but it gets plenty bright where you don't have to worry about squinting and kind of getting close to it or whatnot. Resolution is definitely one of the biggest pluses for me. For most of them are 1080p or smaller resolution, and I like a little bit more resolution than that. So that was one of my main reasons for upgrading to this over some of the other Chromebooks that I was looking at. Let's see, wrist pads are very nice. The Google Assistant is nice. I have used it a little bit on this. Since I have a Google Home in my house, most of the time when I ask Google something, it answers instead of this, but I have had this pick it up a couple times and answer my question or bring up what I needed. I'm still debating on the pen. I'm on the fence. I think it's something that I might use sometimes, but I haven't decided if it's quite worth that $100 price tag yet. So if I do get that, I will definitely do a quick little review with this, with the pen, and show you guys what that's like. Let's see. The battery. The battery on this is great. I've made it almost 2 days on a full charge, normal use. This thing wakes up and goes to sleep real quick. So when I'm not using it, I just close it. And then if I need to, you know, when I'm ready to use again, open it up, and it's within probably a second or two, it's right back where I was. Don't really find that too much with any of the Windows laptops. So as far as productivity goes, this has that beat. I think I had it a couple days ago. I was using it quite a bit at work, and so off and on throughout the day, used it that night to work on some documentation, and then made it almost to the end of the next business day before I actually had to plug it in. So battery life on this definitely is getting me more than a day. By the end of the day, doing some reading, where the screen's always on, typing up documentation, I haven't had to really worry about battery life at all on this. So definite plus on the battery. I like that they did that. Put that size of battery in this. USB-C is nice. Like I said, this is my Pixel 2 that I reviewed. Are my first two USB-C devices, and I'm loving it. Faster charging, more compatibility. Like I said, I've got a docking station or a hub that's coming in that has HDMI out, a couple of USB ports, things like that. So a little more flexibility where you don't have to have a whole bunch of ports on the device itself. You just carry on a little dongle, and it's got everything else that you need. That's pretty much it on this. The only thing that really kind of hits this, you know, the price tag is really what kills most people for it. But to me, you know, if I get a good 2 to 3 years of use out of this for my personal stuff, that it's worth it to me. I was going to spend $1,000, $1,200 on a gaming laptop that weighs 2 to 3 times as much as this and is bigger and thicker, and I have to lug it around all the time. I think I'm going to like this a lot more for traveling and stuff like that, for personal use, than the gaming laptop, because I just don't game that much when I travel. So this, for the size, the footprint, the screen size, it's everything that I personally need, and I love it. If you can afford it and you're looking at a Chromebook, I say there's nothing better. So definitely pick one up if you're interested. I love mine and I use it every freaking day. Until next time, see you later.